Italy, a magnificent country.
It's all here. It's quite breathtaking.
A place where I feel deeply connected.
This is where my grandmother Polizzi's journey began.
In this series, I'm returning, but I'm leaving the mainland to explore Italy's extraordinary islands.
So beautiful.
Revisiting memories.
I haven't been here since I was a child, and I thought I'd make a pilgrimage.
And building new ones.
I mean, this is one of the maddest things I've ever done. Feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
On a journey of discovery. From the ancient, rugged beauty of Sardinia,
The remains here are spine-tingling.
to the splendor and surprises of Sicily. And some of the Mediterranean's hidden treasures.
It does just feel a million miles away from anywhere else. Look at this. It's one of Sicily's most striking secrets. I can't believe it, it's been too long.
This is my Italian island adventure. My tour begins with Sardinia, Italy's second largest island and a place that's a part of my heritage. Completely marooned in the Mediterranean, its isolation has made Sardinia fiercely independent from the rest of Italy. It's the maverick of the Med. I'll be arriving into its chaotic capital city, Cagliari, before venturing into the rugged Supramonte district, unearthing its dark past, and discovering what makes the mountain town of Lanusei truly unique. It's a 4-hour journey from the north to south of this vast island. Tourists are drawn to the captivating beauty of the north coast. The Costa Smeralda is one of the most glamorous stretches. Super yachts line the marina at Porto Cervo, and the beach at Stintino is a sun-seeker's fantasy. But my journey starts in the south. I should have a strong connection with this island. My father had Sardinian roots, and his mother, my beloved grandmother, was born here.
My nonna Polizzi was the most amazing woman, and I got on with her incredibly well. She was very sharp, very funny, took no nonsense from anybody, and I miss her every single day of my life.
But in fact, Sardinia is the island that I know least.
I never came here growing up as a child. My Forte family were always too nervous about kidnappings and the troubles in Italy at the time.
My only real encounter with Sardinia was when my nonna used the local dialect from time to time.
So when she wanted to talk to my grandfather without us children knowing, she'd slip immediately into Sardinian, which is completely incomprehensible. And I used to tease her about it endlessly, and it's pretty hard, even for an Italian speaker, to get their heads around Sardinian. I never managed it.
It seems fitting to start my journey of exploration with a visit to its capital city, Cagliari.
My grandmother had a house here, and we talked so many times about coming here, about her bringing me here, and I never made it with her. Silly me.
Grazie.
Most visitors arrive here via the airport, one of 3 this island has. But as far as I'm concerned, the best way to first catch sight of it is from the water. Cagliari's beauty is rather subtle.
Certainly from here, it's not the most beautiful city I've ever been to. D.H. Lawrence said it was nothing like Italy, but I think it's still recognisably Mediterranean. It does have a certain charm of its own. It's slightly crumbling in the way that so many Italian cities are, but that is part of the charm of Italy. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Being here has awakened my desire to know more about my heritage.
I absolutely adored my Nonna Polizzi, Nonna Lillina, but I didn't know much about her life.
So I've come to Cagliari's registry archive at the heart of the city, in the hope that Salvatore can tell me more about my roots.
Cosa ha
C'è
scoperto?
l'atto di matrimonio del 1912 di Polizzi Francesco con Emma Nurchi.
Allora, questo era il bisnonno?
Certo, Francesco è il suo bisnonno.
But what's written here is a complete surprise to me.
Subito. Allora, anche il nonno era sardo? Nonno Gino?
Beh, certo.
It turns out that I'm more connected to this island than I realised.
Allora, pensavo di essere solo un quarto sarda, può darsi sono mezza sarda.
Mezza sarda, appunto.
I knew I was a quarter Sardinian, but now it appears I may be more than that. I may be even half Sardinian.
Now that I've discovered I have more roots here than I thought, I'm really excited to explore the Sardinian culture. As one of the biggest ports in the Mediterranean, the sprawl of Cagliari's neighbourhoods is about as chaotic as Sardinia will ever get. But like so many places I've visited, its cuisine holds the key to what this city is really all about.
In Italy, markets really are still a way of life. People very rarely go to a supermarket. So this is a wonderful way to absorb local culture, local traditions, and also local cuisine.
But it's well worth hopping on a bus or in a taxi and making the short journey to San Benedetto's market. Here you'll be rewarded with some real Sardinian produce if you're feeling brave. It's incredibly evocative for me.
When I was on the boat with my grandparents, about every other day we'd have to come to a fruit market, a vegetable market, a fish market like this. There were about 10 of us to feed day in, day out, and then get through a lot of food.
This vibrant space is one of the largest indoor markets in Europe. But with more than 200 stallholders all vying for your business, it's a pretty daunting prospect. Francesco is one of the city's most famous restaurateurs, and he's agreed to help me navigate my way to the best bits of Sardinian cuisine.
Buongiorno.
Like stallholder Maurizio's porceddu, or suckling pig.
È una nostra tradizione il maialetto. Noi lo mangiamo piccolino, invece nelle altre parti d'Europa e del mondo lo vogliono grande.
Here, no part of the pig is wasted.
This is boiled hoof and neck. It's boiled with vinegar and parsley. Come lo mangi?
Così è già cotto, è pronto da mangiare ed è ottimo.
Oh my God, I don't know.
È cotto, è ottimo.
It's quite fatty, but not nearly as slimy as you'd expect.
But as far as I'm concerned, you're not Italian if you don't adore cheese. Both of my grandmothers were fabulous cooks. Their soufflés and risottos form my earliest food memories.
Italians eat a lot of cheese, even in my little household with 2 small children. Well, I definitely get through a kilo of Parmesan a month, easily.
Sardinia's most famous export is pecorino, a robust cheese that's made from sheep's milk.
So this is the most typical Sardinian cheese. In Sardinia, they even use this grated on top of spaghetti. I love cheese, so I'm in heaven. Buonissimo. Perfetto. Questo è veramente buonissimo. It's very strong tasting, very strong flavored.
They say you can have too much of a good thing. I can't say I agree, personally.
Yummy.
I could stay here all day.
I'm not even vaguely cheesed out.
But in the noisy depths, you'll find what this market is most famous for: an abundance of the freshest seafood.
They're so fresh, they're alive. So do you serve these in your restaurant?
Yeah, a lot. We just boil them up and with a little bit of salt.
Sea slugs.
Sea slugs.
Somehow anything with the word slug in it doesn't really encourage me, but my sort of are they good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they an acquired taste?
The taste is very strong.
Very strong.
I can't say I'm convinced. But Francesco isn't letting me leave Cagliari without trying one of his seafood specialities at his restaurant, Liliku.
So, these are gianchetti, which are a speciality from around here. Little baby fish fried up. Delicious.
Down near the port, where the food is more reasonably priced, this atmospheric trattoria draws in crowds from all walks of life. Opera singer Andrea Bocelli can be spotted dining on seafood alongside hungry fishermen.
This place is an institution. Everyone comes here, and I understand why.
Cagliari has delivered a healthy dose of authentic culture, but it's inland where you'll find the real essence of Sardinia. I've travelled 3 hours east of Cagliari, where the drama of Sardinia's wild, sparse interior begins to unfold.
This vast wilderness behind me is a Supramonte. The silence is only broken by dogs barking and the sound of the goats' bells.
For the more adventurous traveller, this part of the island is ripe for exploration. Vistas like this jaw-dropping gorge can be discovered, and the atmospheric town of Orgosolo is a real highlight of the region, where years of political turmoil are etched on its buildings in a series of poignant murals. But I'm drawn to this rugged landscape because of its dark past. In the early 70s, when I was a child, Sardinia was encountering terrible troubles with bandits. There had been a series of brutal kidnappings where the wealthy were being targeted. Because of the success of my grandfather's business, I was deemed a kidnap risk. I've decided to hire a local guide, Luciano, to learn more about these troubled times. And understand why my parents kept me from visiting Sardinia as a child.
Bene, grazie. Andiamo. Questa regione, perché è stata questa che è così conosciuta per i banditi?
I banditi c'erano perché comunque erano, diciamo che era un fenomeno più sociale che altro. C'era molta povertà, molto isolamento,
Sì.
e quindi c'era il fenomeno delle ruberie, insomma si rubava. I rapimenti non erano cose casuali, non è che arrivava il turista e veniva rapito, no, generalmente erano persone veramente miliardari e veniva chiesto un riscatto.
When I was young, I heard these stories endlessly, and obviously it wasn't just the question of ransom, it was just the fear of having someone taken from you. It was very alive in all our minds. People were very, very fearful.
The bandits used this vast granite landscape to evade capture. These mountains are studded with a network of caves that made it easy for them to keep moving and stay hidden from the authorities.
Lì ci facevano il fuoco, quando c'era il fumo che c'era.
Sì.
Sicuramente lo utilizzavano per quello. Quindi era un riparo
So this is an area that was probably a hiding place. It definitely shows sign of human habitation, whether it was just because of the goats and the shepherds, or whether it was used for more sinister purposes.
Ma al territorio lo usavano tutto, poi i nascondigli potevano essere anche una semplice pietra dove si nascondeva sotto,
Yes.
oppure ci sono delle querce enormi che hanno un buco dentro, no?
Sì.
Ci stanno persone dentro, si possono anche coricare dentro.
They knew all the hiding places, and someone who wasn't from here would never, ever have been able to scope them out. It's very heavily wooded. It's very rocky. It's pretty impenetrable.
It's incredible to think that bandits were bringing victims here as recently as 1997. But now it's a much safer destination for visitors looking to hire a car and explore. There is, however, one enduring figure that has always remained here. For the shepherd, farming this land is just a way of life. The bonus of having a guide is getting to meet the locals. Luciano's taking me to meet the last isolated shepherd to live and work out in these mountains.
È molto isolato qui, vabbè, non è
Sì, non è
lontano
proprio-
del
sì, ma-
paese. Piacere.
Piacere
Questo è
mio.
Alex, questo è Ciccio.
Ciao Messina.
Piacere mio, grazie. Sono felice di essere qui.
At the ripe age of 80, Ciccio has never married. Instead, he chose an entire lifetime of farming here.
È un lavoro duro che fa.
È un po' duro. Alzarsi presto, verso le 3 di mattina e quasi tutto il giorno c'è da fare.
E allora qual è la parte più dura della vita qua su?
Sono un po', diciamo, isolato. Io sono l'unico che rimango. È l'unica che mi fa compagnia, più che altro è la televisione.
Ciccio's family would love to see him move closer to town, but he refuses to give up his animals.
Le piace sempre questo modo di vivere?
Lavoro, diciamo, essere a contatto col bestiame da quando ero bambino. Tutta la vita. Sono abituato, è proprio per quello. Tanto, proprio adesso non me ne devo andare. Tanto sto arrivando a Capolinea.
What a charmer he is, 80 years old, and so cheerful. He's an example to all of us.
And I seem to have charmed Ciccio because he's invited us to stay for lunch, and I'm in for a treat. He's been preparing the traditional feast of the Sardinian suckling pig.
So this is a 2-month-old pig. He says only here in this part of the world do they cook them so small.
Lo chiamiamo porché due latte, cioè un maialetto che ancora succhia il latte.
The secret to cooking it is slowly and gently over a low heat.
Per quanto tempo è stato sul fuoco?
Circa 2 ore.
2 hours. It's the first time I've eaten suckling pig on the spot where it's been raised, so I'm very excited indeed.
This traditional way of cooking is primitive, but nothing could prepare me for how Ciccio's nephew carves the meat.
Darling, please. We're quite far removed, aren't we, in normal life from how we eat meat. It's quite sobering seeing it being carved like this. This is how real men eat. I'm very, very excited now.
È buono?
Mamma mia, tenero. Oh, it is so tender. I have honestly never in my life eaten pork like this. These days, there's a lot of chat about provenance. It's very in, isn't it? Everyone has on their menu how far away their ingredients come from. But this is 0 meters away. This is made from this bit of land. And it's unbelievable. Buono, 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 buono.
Sono magro, ma a mangiare già mangio io.
Sì.
È solo che faccio quel movimento, mica posso, certo che non credo che diventi obeso.
No, non è il rischio.
Non c'è quel pericolo.
No, no.
Cheers, salute.
Salute.
Ci ubriachiamo, mi sa,
The mountainous Supramonte district where Cicciu lives is one of the poorest and most remote parts of Sardinia. So it's a real surprise to discover at the foot of these mountains a touch of glamour. This is Su Gologone, an award-winning hotel where you can experience untouched Sardinia in luxury. These rooms were designed in honour of a tradition of shepherding here, and there are so many references to where they used to live, what they used to wear, the fabrics. It's all very authentic, but it's also all done in extremely good taste. The hotel began life as a simple trattoria built by Pepedu Palimode back in 1960, and is now a 68-bedroom retreat run by his daughter Giovanna.
I miei in qualche maniera hanno voluto proporre tutto ciò che la tradizione poteva, il territorio poteva offrire. Quindi qui tutto ciò che vedete è molto autentico, è molto legato alla cultura e alla tradizione sarda. Penso che non ci sia nessun'altra isola al mondo così.
So much of what you see is made right here on site in an effort to preserve some of Sardinia's age-old crafts. Visitors can even have a go at a few traditional recipes. And as a baker's wife, there's one Old Shepherd staple that I'm very interested in trying.
Pane Carasau is one of Sardinia's most enduring culinary traditions because it was so useful for the sheep herders, the goat herders. They would go for months on end away from villages, obviously carrying all their provisions with them. And this bread, because it's dried, can last up to 3 months. Questa è la parte più difficile.
Sì, ginturtu. Si chiama in sardo ginturtu.
The kneading is the hardest bit of this whole process. I know this from Marcus's bakery. It looks very simple. Looks like any idiot could do it. Believe you me, I'm one idiot who can't.
Così è la pallina.
Molto carina.
Sì. E poi io vado a schiacciare.
Sì, faccio così.
Avanti.
Sempre in una direzione, giusto?
Fino ad arrivare alla fine. Così si gira.
Sì, così. The important thing is to only ever do it in one direction and then you turn it and do it in the other direction. Grazie della vostra pazienza.
No, è bravissima.
This isn't as easy as it looks.
I am feeling the pressure. I'm going to be mocked at home for my technique.
Finally, after hours of resting, the dough is ready to be baked, and it's quite a sight.
It's amazing because it starts off by bubbling up and it looks like a kind of disease. And then finally it blows up completely.
Vuole assaggiare?
Assaggio?
Sì.
Fresco dal forno?
Sì.
It's very thin, very crispy and quite easy to eat inordinate quantities of. Although it does last 3 months. This lady says there's nothing better than when it just comes out of the oven. Really, really good.
The more time I spend on this island, the more I realise how independent it feels from the rest of Italy.
It's interesting because Sardinia is even more regionalised than most bits of Italy. It's an island, but you go from place to place and there are different customs, different skills, different traditions, and they're all passionately being maintained. It's one of the things I love so much about being here, actually.
But I'm yet to discover some of the more curious traditions that are so unique to this isle. Most visitors never venture further than Sardinia's 2,000 kilometres of beguiling bays and beaches. But I think the real appeal of this island is in its ancient history. Sardinia is said to predate Italy itself. And mysterious evidence of man has existed here for thousands of years. More than 7,000 relics of prehistoric villages and tombs like this litter the landscape and are all easily accessible to visitors. Today, Sardinians affectionately regard these ancient burial chambers as fairy houses. Thanks to a history of isolation, some curious traditions are preserved on Sardinia. Some have even been afforded the protection of UNESCO in order to safeguard them. If you're visiting during one of the island's annual festivals, you may come across this mysterious form of folk music. It's known as canto a tenore, and it's another nod to the shepherd farming his flock. If you explore the southwestern corner of the island, Italy's oldest city, Sant'Antioco, can be found jutting out from the coast. Here there is a modest museum run by a local weaver named Chiara. She's allowed me to come and see her at work, but I'm interrupting her at my peril because some say she's a witch.
Maestro, sono Alex Polizzi. Piacere, grazie.
Piacere.
Chiara takes her art very seriously because this isn't any old thread she's weaving. She claims to be the last woman in the world to weave sea silk. It's rumoured that she's been offered billions for her work. She commands respect, and I need to watch my step.
La posso chiamare Chiara o devo...
Sì. O mi chiami Chiara o mi chiami Maestro.
This silky thread is called byssus, and it comes from huge saltwater clams.
Questo animale vive 25 anni, raggiunge altezze di 1,10 m, è il più grande bivalve mediterraneo, si chiama Pinna nobilis cetacea.
I'm amazed. So that is the mollusk that she spins this wonderful thread from.
It's a priceless material. At 60 years of age, Chiara has to dive 100 times in order to collect a mere 15 meters of thread.
Posso chiederla, maestro?
Sì.
Ha fatto questo lavoro tutta la vita?
Allora, ho cominciato a filare a 4 anni, a tessere a 12. Io sono la 30ª generazione nella mia famiglia. Questo sì.
30ª, 30th.
Sì.
Giusto?
You have to hold and feel this delicate sea silk to even begin to comprehend just how precious it is.
Ce l'hai in mano?
Non ce l'ho in mano.
Sì che ce l'hai in mano.
It not only weighs nothing, but it feels like nothing. I would have sworn there was nothing on my hand.
After an awkward start, we seem to be getting along. Chiara's even letting me in on the secrets of her craft.
È magico.
Magico, filo magico. She's twisting it, and then with that, she's then spins it further into a Z shape. That's what she calls it.
Essere inemmane, tessere, tessere, filare, indemoniare. Il novero, vita mia, e andare da in terra e cominciare a sa pazienza in save mina mancare. E il filo è fatto.
So that is the thread made, and now she has to do the magic bit.
Fatto. È magico. Tira.
Strano. It's amazing that she's made this thread in front of me.
E sono una vecchia strega io. E diciamo che sono una strega mancata, sopravvissuta al massacro.
Chiara's work isn't for sale, and I can understand why.
Isn't that beautiful? It would take 20 years to make a dress, the master says.
Perché per fare questo ci sono voluti 5 anni.
No. Took 5 years to make that.
Only presidents and popes have been deemed worthy recipients of her pieces.
She says she would never sell any of this, anything that she makes, because they are works of art that belong to the world. And so when they're ready, they're ready. Hurry has no place here.
It's not just the traditions that have aged well here. It's customary in Sardinia to toast with the words, "May you live to 100 years." And on this island, for some reason, many do. Astonishingly, there are currently 411 centenarians living here, more than anywhere else in the world. All of my grandparents lived to a ripe old age, so I've always believed this part of the world had something in its water. My curiosity has brought me to meet Angela and Pierino.
Buongiorno, Angela. Buongiorno. Sono Alex.
The island's official photographers of centenarians.
It's been a year since Angela and Pierino have had this project of photographing centenarians. And 3 or 4 times a week, he says, he's being called somewhere to take a photo of yet another one. Vediamo delle foto, allora?
Sì, certo.
Sì.
It's a portfolio like no other.
Questa è la signora più vecchia.
Sì, la più anziana della Sardegna. Queste sono 2 sorelle, tutte e 2 centenarie.
Che bello.
103 e 100. Sì.
Questa che età?
103.
103. Li riconosci tutti?
Vabbè, qualcheduno c'ho. Sì, anche perché.
Questo signore è molto bello.
Sì. 105 quasi.
105 almost, this man. I mean, there are some quite astonishing photos here. People who look so hale and hearty. You wouldn't believe for a minute they're over 100. There's one guy here who's still a shepherd at the age of 100, still taking his sheep into pasture.
These photos give a sense of the strong family tradition that exists here.
Noi sentiamo particolarmente in Inghilterra che i vecchi sono quasi invisibili, che spariscono, che non hanno famiglie intorno. E non è così qui,
Non è
vero?
così, guarda. Sono circondate proprio dall'affetto dei familiari.
Old age is much more precious here. It's a matter of enormous pride if you manage to get to 100. It's a matter of pride for the family. Questa signora scicchissima.
Sì.
Una bisnonna è arrivata a 104 anni.
C'è ancora? C'è ancora?
No, adesso no.
Se no andava a fotografare.
Infatti mi
Dov'è il
dispiace.
problema?
Mi dispiace.
These images are heartwarming to see, but some of these folk are doing more than just enjoying old age, as I'm about to find out. They're helping science in a study that could one day affect us all. The Gennargentu is a vast area of granite mountainous country. It's a hiker's paradise. But my fascination with the number of centenarians in Sardinia has brought me to the tiny town of Lanusei. Because here, within an old schoolhouse, there is a world-leading laboratory full of gadgetry and scientists. A groundbreaking project named Progenia is underway, where the genes of local people are being studied to see if this region holds the answer to the way we age. Eduardo is one of the key scientists.
So, Eduardo, tell me about what you're doing here.
We are studying the aging of humans. We are a nice population to be studied for aging, for autoimmunity, and for longevity.
So you are studying the traits that lead to longevity?
Yes, so...
Or that contribute towards...
Yeah, that's right. This is the point.
Who will benefit from the research?
I mean, the entire population, the world population, because aging and problems related to aging...
affects everybody.
Yes, yes.
6,000 volunteers aged from 18 through to 105 undergo routine checkups. Eduardo and his fellow scientists are evaluating the way the aging process affects the immune system. It's mind-boggling stuff.
The fact that you have a large group of people here in this area who miraculously live to a great age means that you have a bigger pool of people to use as research.
Yeah, we are trying to collect their blood, their genetic information, and their immune system to define and to see why they are so
long-lived.
Yeah, so long-lived. Exactly.
It's incredibly important work that's happening. It's another world from that which I come from, and it's very interesting. I'm very proud of the fact I have 4 grandparents and none of them died under the age of 90.
Can I take your blood?
It's good though. I always think it must mean that I've got good genetic characteristics. I think it's astonishing that such an important facility is in such a small place, and it's encouraged to happen here because of this particular genetic makeup of this island.
Who would have thought that this little town has the potential to impact on us all? Although Sardinia has a record-breaking number of centenarians, I didn't expect to be here just as it gained another. But as the final part of my journey takes me back towards Cagliari, I've come to the nearby town of Settimo San Pietro, where I've been invited to join photographers Pierino and Angela as they photograph one man's momentous day. It's an opportunity I'm certainly not going to miss.
This is our centenarian, Angelo, who's going in to celebrate with Mass in church. He's in good form for 100, isn't he? I was saying that we all want to look like that when we're 100. Maybe with slightly less facial hair, but otherwise exactly like that.
A te, Dio Padre Onnipotente, nell'unità dello Spirito Santo, ogni onore e gloria per tutti I secoli dei secoli. Amen. Ed ora resta con noi.
I used to go to Mass every Sunday with the rest of my family until I was 19. It is still something I enjoy doing today, whenever I get the opportunity.
That was really nice. It's very cheering to see a 100-year-old man surrounded by so many friends and family, by so much affection and goodwill. It's a long time since I've been to Mass and I've enjoyed it so much.
The entire town has turned out to mark the occasion, and the respect being shown for Angelo is incredibly moving.
There's a lovely cake. There's lots of people here to celebrate. A few people in traditional costume. He's a popular man. He's lived 100 years, may live 100 more. Auguri. Tanti auguri. Grazie dell'invito e tanti auguri. These is great-grandchildren.
I can still clearly remember the celebrations when my own great-grandmother reached 100, with all of us grandchildren around her.
Being here in Sardinia obviously makes me think of my family and my beloved grandmother particularly, my nonna Polizzi, who I miss every single day of my life. She didn't make it to 100, I wish she'd had. It's a great comfort to me that she at least saw my daughter. I can only imagine how lovely it is for all these great-grandchildren to know their great-grandfather too. It's a really nice occasion.
And it's one that I consider myself very, very lucky to have been a part of.
They're incredibly friendly here, incredibly hospitable. I feel very Italian, not quite as Sardinian as maybe I should. Maybe it's part of my culture I should embrace a bit further.
Before I leave Sardinia, I receive some welcome news about my own Sardinian family. Salvatore from the Archive Registry has made a discovery about my darling nonna.
This is the end of my Sardinian journey. But this is where my grandmother Polizzi's journey began. This is where she was born. And I thought I'd make a pilgrimage just to have one last contact with my nonna.
I've left behind Sardinia's vast landscapes in search of some of Italy's smaller islands. There are many more lesser-known discoveries off the mainland, begging to be explored, each one distinctly different. From the exclusive shores of Ischia in the Bay of Naples, to the remote Aeolian islands of Salina, and finally Filicudi, a place that will always be special to me. But first I'm heading to a legendary idyll, the sun-kissed glamour of Capri. To me, this is the original island retreat.
Capri is well known as a magnet for intellectuals, artists, film stars, writers. It started off as a fishing village and it has become much, much more than that.
It's a place I'm longing to explore more. As a child, my grandfather would take us out on his boat, but he hated mooring here. I can remember my excitement at being allowed once to stop for ice cream.
Capri is known as the most glamorous of all the Italian islands. I haven't been here for years. When I was last here, I think it was very different from how it is today.
Capri has been famous as a summer holiday destination since Roman times, with its attractive blend of mythical history, glitz and relaxed Mediterranean rhythms, all a stone's throw from the mainland. But the island's golden years were the 1950s and 60s, when the Hollywood jet set descended for work and for pleasure. It was a haven for the likes of Brigitte Bardot, Elizabeth Taylor and Clark Gable. For a bijou island just 4 miles long, the beguiling limestone cliffs of Capri still manage to seduce the rich and famous. Super yachts glide in and out of the most expensive marina in Italy, and the streets gleam with designer shop fronts. But among the big labels, there's one original store that all of Hollywood's glitterati have been to over the years, a place that epitomizes Capri's glamour.
I'm at the world-famous Camphora of Capri. For someone who loves shoes like me, this is an institution, because it was here from when Capri was a fishing village, and it's still owned by the same family.
Pop into this modest shop and you'll discover a family at work. Costanzo is at the helm today, making sandals the same way his grandfather did nearly 70 years ago.
My grandfather started the business in 1946, and he had the idea to make a sandal that was not only leather, but bejeweled with corals, with stones, so making what is now called the Capri sandals.
Amadeo set the standard for sandal making and garnered quite a reputation.
I know, obviously, your lips have to be sealed about your current customers, but what about some of the ones who are no longer with us?
Well, think about Jacqueline Kennedy. My grandfather made sandals for her, and the first time she came, it was midnight, and the store was open only for her.
How chic.
Everybody, from Grace Kelly to Princess Margaret, coveted these made-to-measure sandals.
So why do you think you have managed to survive as a business when so many others have gone by the wayside?
Because of the passion we used to make our work. My grandfather gave this passion to his daughters and then to us.
That's beautiful.
Why don't you try them all?
Shall I?
I thought he'd never ask.
They are lovely.
So if you wait 10 minutes, we're gonna make for you.
Thank you. How exciting.
These sandals can cost up to 400 euros, but sometimes you just have to indulge.
It's only in Italy that you get a bespoke sandal made. Goodness. So chic to think that I'm treading in the footsteps of Jackie Kennedy. Che belli. Thank you very much. I'm absolutely thrilled with them. I do feel very Capri glamorous.
During summer, Capri heaves with tourists arriving by ferry from nearby Naples, all wanting to experience this millionaire's playground. But behind the glitz and glamour, a community of 12,000 Caprese still live here and work here all year round. And some of them are involved in a crucial project. As much of Capri is inaccessible by car, I'm taking the Carellino up into the hills to a little-known beauty spot overlooking the port. I've come to meet a group that call themselves Capri is Mine Too.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Cerco Tonino.
These volunteers are reclaiming the island's heritage. They've been unearthing Capri's lost treasures and restoring them for the locals and tourists to enjoy once again.
Salve, Tonino.
Ciao.
Dai.
Come stai? Benvenuta a Villa Fersen.
Che bello!
Questo è uno spettacolo.
Tonino, the group's founder, is a Caprese who's seen his island's beauty gradually decay.
Come ti sei coinvolto in tutto questo?
Sì, no, una mattina io e mia moglie eravamo andati a fare footing.
Sì.
E allora in un belvedere dall'altra parte dell'isola. E a terra c'erano dei rifiuti in questo. Allora Questo belvedere guastava con tutta la bellezza. Non era possibile questo.
It only took 15 minutes to transform this place, and so he decided then and there that they had to start reclaiming Capri and the bits that had been left abandoned, and it's amazing the kind of support that he's managed to garner by the community.
A 40-strong team have now joined Tonino in his crusade to restore buildings like this one, the glorious Villa Fersen.
Che bella entrata.
Magnifica.
Built by a French baron who was living in exile on the island, the magnificent 7-bedroom villa and its sweeping views were left to ruin until recently. Mimi is the oldest of the group, who, by the way, turns 80 today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
When Mimi was young, these gardens were like a playground.
E io ricordo, io sono cresciuto qua dentro.
After the Count died, his sister inherited it. And once a year she would throw a party and they would invite all the children of the area.
E giocavamo con la corsa nei sacchi, sa?
Sì, sì.
Poi con un cucciaino, con la pallina di tennis.
Sì, sì.
Ah, tutti questi giochi con tanti dolciumi.
And 70 years on, not much has changed.
Si può scendere dopo?
My encounter with this island is brief, and yet I've managed to discover the two very different and equally charming sides to Capri.
Grazie, grazie, grazie.
Obviously, there's more to Capri than meets the eye. A casual visitor would never know how much is happening here. They might arrive at the port, come off, have an ice cream, get back on the boat again. But there's a real community here, and they're all incredibly proud of their island. It shows, look what they're prepared to do to preserve the natural beauties of it.
It's been 20 years since my last visit, but it won't be that long until my next. Capri has a big sister in the Bay of Naples, a more rugged, less discovered island, one that might not be as famous, but is considered by many to be even more beautiful.
This is Ischia. I don't know it very well. I haven't been here since I was a child. I'd only ever come with my grandfather on his boat and only ever went ashore to buy food. I'm looking forward to exploring it more.
You can reach Ischia from Naples in just 40 minutes, and yet day trippers often overlook this volcanic island. But the absence of crowds makes it a delight to explore. There are peaceful towns, sleepy harbours, and world-famous healing thermal baths. Ischia is known as the Green Island of the Mediterranean because of its abundant flora. Blessed with a mild and dry climate, parts of it feel like a horticultural paradise. And right at the centre of it all is what I think is Ischia's biggest attraction, one of the most enchanting gardens in Europe. La Mortella was the masterpiece of 20th century English composer Sir William Walton and his Argentinian wife Susanna. The couple moved here from England in 1949 to reawaken William's musical senses. Alessandra is the head gardener here and was a great friend of the late Lady Walton.
She always said William needed a place where he could find rest and also resolve his composition problems. So she created the lower garden to create, she used the word a cocoon for him, a place where he could really find inspiration for his music. I think this garden really reflects the personality of Susanna, and it is full of passion, full of love. It is a story of love, and it shows in every corner. Every plant for her was worth her attention, her love and her care. And this is a great, great lesson.
Here you will find rare tropical plants and dense leafy foliage thriving around spectacular fountains. The Waltons certainly left their mark on this island.
They made Ischia their own. And without sounding too ridiculously romantic, there is still a feeling of enormous affection that remains here.
Given the sea all around it, you'd expect the culinary highlight of this island to be fish. But to find out the real story, you have to go completely off the beaten track, into the pine-forested hills, where you'll discover an Ischia institution.
Hi.
Hi, welcome
Thank
to my
you.
focolare.
Very
Please,
nice, thank
sit
you.
down.
Thank you so much.
Trattoria Il Focolare, run by Riccardo, is a restaurant beloved by locals and frequented by tourists and celebrities, all keen to try the historic dish of the island, coniglio, or as we understand it, rabbit.
I'm really interested because this is an island, obviously, and yet rabbit is one of the dishes of the island.
It sounds strange,
Yes, it does.
but it's not. Every island
Has a different identity.
rabbit is tradition and typical food on my island, and nobody must say the opposite.
It's a real family affair here.
Are all your children involved in the business?
Yes, I have 6 girls and 2 boys.
Chapeau, chapeau.
Chapeau, chapeau. 2 boys are in the kitchen. Sylvia, the eldest, is agronomist.
Sylvia farms their own rabbits from caves here, the free-range way, before they're used in a traditional recipe.
It's a dish that I love. I'm so excited because I never eat rabbit at home.
5 ingredients: tomato, wine, garlic, spices.
What spices? Sorry. I'm how silly of me.
And there is the secret.
The secret.
There is the suspension, the suspense.
Yes, of course.
This dish connects 4 generations of Riccardo's family.
Delicious. I'm so excited.
There's an etiquette to eating rabbit that even I knew nothing about.
All the pieces of the rabbit are all different.
Everybody at the table had their specific part of the rabbit, according to their standing.
Now I give you the best, not the best, the most important, patriarca.
What piece is this?
È la coscia di dietro.
It's the backside.
The best.
Thigh.
The more
back
important.
Thigh. So may I try?
Yes.
Con le dita?
Bravo, brava, brava.
Buona.
Buonissimo.
It's absolutely delicious. I love anything you get to eat with your fingers, partly because it's sexy and partly because you just feel closer to the production of it.
Since ever we cook in this way.
It's worth the wait, but there's a sting in the tail to this ancient peasant dish.
Now, attention to what
Yes.
I'm going to say,
Yes.
that because it could sound not elegant, not nice, but it's true in the peasant family. Lady,
Ate last. I didn't eat rabbit at all.
they didn't eat.
Thankfully, Riccardo doesn't turn away his female diners. But he has managed to maintain a passion for preserving this dish that's so unique to Ischia. A short bus ride from the port is Ischia Ponte, a seaside settlement that is the favoured place to stay for many tourists. And dominating this part of the island is Ischia's most visited attraction. Perched on a rocky islet is the medieval Aragonese castle. Walking across its bridge feels like a journey back to the Middle Ages. You can spend hours exploring the relics of centuries of foreign occupation. And if you visit the crypt of the old cathedral, you may come across a team of women who are at work restoring its ancient frescoes. And that's because this isn't just a castle. This is the European Institute of Restoration. Here, visitors can marvel at some of the world's oldest and most important historical artifacts being lovingly restored.
Buongiorno, Annalisa.
Buongiorno e benvenuti all'Istituto Europeo del Restauro.
Piacere.
Annalisa has been here since the first precious cargo arrived.
Allora, cosa stanno facendo qui?
Allora, le nostre ragazze adesso stanno ritoccando questo dipinto su tavola.
Watching this very, very calm procedures and these beautiful ladies. I mean, this is what you'd like to imagine restoration to be like. I'm sure it isn't always.
Relics from all over Europe arrive here each year to undergo months of painstaking restoration.
Quindi sta cercando di ultimare e di rimuovere questa ridipintura che c'era sotto la decorazione originale.
This is from the 1600s. It's very exciting. It gives me shivers of excitement. Tutte donne qui.
Tutte donne, quasi tutte donne.
Perché c'è un maschio da qualche parte che nascondete.
Nei sarcofagi.
The only man here is in the sarcophagus. They're only women because women are more patient and more delicate and more dedicated, have a greater eye for detail.
Who would ever have thought this unassuming and unpretentious island would play such a significant role in world history?
Senti una grande responsabilità.
Un grandissimo senso di responsabilità. Tale che non ci fa dormire di notte.
She says she has such a sense of responsibility that she can barely sleep at night. So exciting to hear this. I mean, now I've got nothing to do with this world, but I feel very, very privileged to be here.
Wow. Grazie mille.
It's amazing coming to this castle. I didn't expect to be as impressed as I am. But once again, it's an example of the passion that Ischia inspires, I suppose.
And I didn't expect Ischia to leave such an impression on me. The Bay of Naples has been fascinating, but perhaps the least known islands of all still lie ahead. I've travelled south to Sicily's northeastern coast and the tip of Italy's toe, where the Aeolian Islands lie. The 7 remote islands are Italy's best-kept secret, a UNESCO-protected piece of paradise.
The Aeolian Islands are kind of the last frontier of Italy. So few people know or visit here. Even for Italians, they're pretty unknown, partly because they're so hard to get to.
I often made the long journey here during my years of living in Rome with my boyfriend at the time.
It is an effort to get here, but when you do, you are amply repaid. It's incredibly unspoilt, incredibly beautiful. You feel like you're coming somewhere incredibly special and somewhere secret and magical.
Some of these islands still remain a mystery to me.
I'm on Salina, very different from the others. It stays green all year round. Feels very fertile and very alive, very powerful.
Salina, shaped by 2 extinct volcanoes, is the only island in the archipelago to have its own natural freshwater springs. This, combined with its volcanic soil, makes for exceptional growing conditions. It's a trait that the island is famous for, and the produce grown here deserves to be explored. Clara is a proud Salinara who knows every bit of this island.
So, Clara, you're from this island?
Yes, I was born here in Malfa, in Salina.
What has kept you all these years? Why have you never left?
It's so beautiful. How can you live?
I didn't know Salina before. This is the first time I've been here, and it strikes me that this is so fertile. It's so green compared to the other islands.
Yes, it is. Here always there's been a lot of agriculture, and we have more than 7 vineyards. They make a beautiful wine.
E poi per le scuole...
E poi c'è l'aliscafo degli studenti che tutti...
Clara's taking me to meet Enrico, who spent his life working the rugged terrain of this hillside vineyard.
È giovane, come sai?
Guarda la gioventù.
È un terreno difficile da piantare perché è così ripido.
Sì, no, ma diciamo sì, ma per noi è facile, non è difficile.
Apparently this is nothing because in the old days they used to go all the way up the mountainside, the vineyards, and they used to work them just with a spade before even a tractor was involved. So he thinks that this is all child's play.
There is a glut of ingredients to be found here, but the one I'm really interested in is a certain type of vine that produces a very special wine called Malvasia.
The prosperity of Salina is built upon
Yes,
Malvasia.
yes, it is.
No?
It was from the 18th century because they have many sailing boats and they were exporting Malvasia all over the world.
Nothing tells the historical story of Salina better than this sweet wine, which reversed Salina's fortunes as a dirty, poor island. It was discovered by British soldiers fighting Napoleon who couldn't get enough of this tipple. Suddenly, the island was a thriving agricultural hub and you couldn't move for vineyards.
Perché cresce qui la Malvasia particolarmente?
Ho qualcosa nella terra che il vigneto di Malvasia, non il vigneto, il sapore, la qualità.
Enrico produces about 20,000 bottles of Malvasia wine a year. And for about £15, you can take one home to enjoy.
Possiamo provare?
Sì, aspetta, apriamo.
Well, hard work deserves reward.
Cin cin.
Cin cin?
Cin cin.
Grazie. Very, very smooth and not too sweet. And look at this beautiful colour.
Io non posso bere assai perché...
Sì, si fa girare la testa. Mezza bottiglia di questo. Oh.
Si va a dormire.
Malvasia is the triumph of Salina, but it's no longer all that the island's prosperity is built upon. Walkers hiking around the island will notice an abundance of caper trees. Some say the ones grown here are the best in the world. The islanders even celebrate the fact each year with a festival dedicated to this precious little bud. The caper plantations here are fascinating. Taking the reins from his great-grandfather's business, Roberto Rossello manages this one, near the stunning Bay of Polara.
Roberto?
Piacere.
Alex.
Ciao.
Wow, l'odore è incredibile.
Sì.
Tante capperi, tanti.
The caper might seem like a humble ingredient, but astonishingly there are over 130 varieties. Every summer, Roberto has to preserve his entire year's harvest, which takes an inordinate quantity of salt.
E sono mangiabili adesso?
Sono da dissalare perché
Sì.
in questo momento hanno una grossa percentuale di sale, però in realtà è quasi tutto a perdere perché comunque la salamoia che poi genera il cappero è da levare e solo circa il 15% resterà poi all'interno del cappero.
For the cook, that's still a lot of salt, but Roberto has the best advice to share.
Un giorno.
Un giorno circa.
That's something else I didn't know, that before using them, you shouldn't just rinse them, you should soak them for a day and change the water 3 or 4 times. I've never done that.
It's not often that you get to see how produce makes its way from picking to plate. And after this, I'll spare a thought for poor Roberto.
Una curiosità, una cosa molto particolare che quasi nessuno sa, che durante le prime settimane, quando i capperi stanno fermentando, emanano dei vapori che fanno effetto cipolla. Quindi tutto il periodo della raccolta quasi piange, che è un piacere.
So he spends the whole of the first part of the summer sobbing in this room, crying his eyes out.
Agriculture dominates day-to-day life here, and even though it is the second largest of the Aeolian Islands, much of Salina happily still feels untouched by tourism. But among the vineyards, it is possible to find a glamorous retreat that caters to the more discerning traveller. In the peaceful village of Malfa, in the heart of Salina, is Hotel Signum, a collection of farmhouses that blends old and new.
It feels as if this hotel perfectly fits the place. It's quite stark and minimalist without being in any way modernist. There's lovely terraces and all of it bleached out by this pretty unforgiving sun.
But aside from the beautiful simplicity of its decor, the hotel has managed to make use of the island's produce in every conceivable way.
They've also made, with their local capers, a caper body scrub, a face mask, a face serum and a body lotion. I'm going to try the face mask.
Never let it be said that I'm not game.
This feels like... Sorry, guys. Also, completely without being able to see what I'm doing. How do I look? I feel devastatingly sexy at the moment.
I never for one moment imagined I'd be sampling the therapeutic benefits of capers.
How do I look? Oh, well, my skin feels incredibly soft and doesn't smell too much of capers, so it's all to the good.
But perhaps you need to be a die-hard caper lover to try one of the hotel's signature desserts, caper ice cream.
Ciao. Ciao, ecco per te il gelato al cappero di Salina.
Grazie.
Prego.
I'm not sure whether I'm looking forward to this, but I can only give it a go. Interesting. Slightly bizarre. Capers are an acquired taste. I don't know if I've quite acquired enough of a taste to have caper ice cream.
The ice cream was a new experience for me. In fact, the whole of Salina has helped me see these islands from a new perspective.
I've been so surprised by what I've seen today here in Salina. I've heard of it as the Green Island, but I didn't expect it to be this green, this fertile. However, over there, that heavily pregnant sleeping lady, that's my Aeolian Island. That's Filicudi. I haven't been there for 14 years, and I can't wait to get back.
It's a mere 20-minute journey across the cobalt blue seas to my final destination, Filicudi. But in truth, it feels like another world.
I mean, it's not very far away from civilization, but it feels like the outer edge of the known world. Here there be dragons.
I spent many summers here during my younger years with my boyfriend at the time.
When I lived in Rome, and I lived with Luca, this was where he used to take his holidays, and this was the view that I used to have breakfast to in the mornings. It's very strange to be back.
Much has changed in my life since I was last on Filicudi, but standing here now evokes some reassuringly familiar feelings.
I definitely feel the same magic as I used to feel on this island. I was very, very happy whenever I came to Filicudi, and I'm very, very happy now. So, to that extent, I do feel exactly the same.
I couldn't come to Filicudi without returning to one of my favourite spots on the island, Pecorini a Mare.
These amazing creatures are called velelle, and they're from the jellyfish family. And here the locals fry them and eat them, and they also eat them raw. They taste like the sea. I love this beach. I love how smooth the stones are. I've got a stack of these in London, and I'm going to take another one home this time.
I whiled away many an afternoon at this remote little spot.
That was my favourite restaurant 14 years ago. We used to come here all the time for raw fish. It's just charming. It doesn't try too hard. The surroundings are incredible, and particularly out of season. Why would you want to be anywhere else?
Here, a speciality is the most simple, yet sublime, almond spaghetti.
I'm really looking forward to eating here again. I can't believe it's been 14 years since I last sat here.
Prego, spaghetti alle mandorle.
Grazie.
Prego.
Mmm. This is a local dish again. I don't think you'd eat it anywhere else in the world. I remember why I like this place so much.
I've always felt that you can truly switch off from life on Filicudi. Houses are few and far between. Electricity and water only arrived on the island 30 years ago. And even today, when storms lash down, the locals are prone to days of isolation from the rest of the world. But for some of the residents here, that sense of detachment is the real appeal.
Filicudi, in a way, feels quite lawless. As if you can do anything you want. Just the fact that so few people live here. There's only about 250, 300 people live here all year round, and it's a big island. It attracts people who are trying to escape from the ordinary run of the world.
People like local artist Marina. 25 years ago, she came to Filicudi in search of an escape from the chaos and corruption of her home in Naples.
Che vista.
Eh sì, oggi è veramente bello.
And she found it in a cave.
Che bello che è, però. Hai fatto un lavoro incredibile. How much work did this take?
Years.
Years.
Everything here has been fashioned from Marina's bare hands.
And I love all your lights. Questa è molto bella. Anche questa. I love this.
I made them. It's my job. I prefer to use a piece of something that I find around in the island, on the beach, or also in the mountain.
So everything you have in here, you brought up that path, up the steps. You must be so fit.
Yes, in the years.
Over the years.
But it's not just energy you need. I think it takes a certain strength of character to live here.
The first 4 months I was without electricity. And then after 10 years, finally I had water.
You must need to like your own company.
I learned.
You learned to be happy
Yes.
with your own company.
Yeah.
Lesson for us all. I must say, romantic though the idea is, I'm so glad I'm not living there. I wouldn't last a year schlepping up and down this path. It's a lovely idea, but not for me.
For the adventurous traveller, it's possible to experience the wild beauty of this island from the water. And if you're lucky, you may be treated to a rare sight. Monica is a marine biologist. She runs a rescue unit for marine turtles. But she also runs boat trips for those hoping to explore the abundance of sea life here.
Ciao Monica. Nice to meet you. I'm Alex.
Io sono Monica.
sono tantissime meduse, mamma mia.
The Aeolian Islands are colonised by dolphins, but Monica is researching a species that is rarely seen here, the bottlenose.
Fingers crossed that we see them today.
It's been a year since you last caught sight of these creatures, so I'm not holding out too much hope. Only 38 bottlenose dolphins exist around all the Aeolian Islands, making them an endangered species. Sadly, this doesn't feel like it's going to be our day.
We didn't find dolphins today, but boat is still the best way to see Filicudi. In fact, it's the best way to see any island as far as I'm concerned.
But just as we've given up hope, Monica spots something.
Ah, eccoli laggiù. Le vedi?
Yay!
Wow! Wow! Sono adozioni! Yeah, wonderful! They are my dolphins. It's very rare to see them while I see you before. Yeah.
Gosh, there's lots of them.
Astonishingly, Monica can identify every one of these dolphins from their distinctive dorsal fins.
Oh, look, it's just there.
You are very lucky.
I can't believe how calm they are and how many there are of them all together. It's really, really exciting. It's amazing. Gosh. Well, I didn't think we were going to get to see this, so I feel very, very lucky.
Sorry for my click.
Clicking away with her camera, she can't believe it either. I've seen dolphins before, but I've never seen so many or so close. These are just hanging out.
I can think of few other mornings in my life like this one.
You could tell from Monica's excitement how rare it is to see bottlenose dolphins. She said she hadn't seen them for a year. That's why she took photo after photo after photo. I feel incredibly lucky to have been with her when she saw them again. Feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It's been incredible travelling around Italy's minor islands. Spending time on these much smaller, very distinctive communities has just strengthened my belief that island life is unique.
I think it takes a particular kind of person to live on an island. It's a life of extremes. It's a life of extreme beauty and extreme solitude and wild, stormy seas. I've seen an enormous amount of community spirit and passion and pride on every island I've been, which is admirable. You have to make your own society on an island, and that's something that it would be nice to replicate elsewhere.
And to see me off, Filicudi is treating me to a spectacular sight.
Absolutely incredible. I still love this place, and I still think it's got something so special about it that nowhere else I've ever been in the world can touch.
When you travel this far south, there is no shortage of iconic beauty spots. In fact, here you'll discover some of the cleanest sapphire seas and sandy beaches in the country. But I think the whole character of Italy begins to change, and the region of Puglia, found at the heel of the country's boot, has its own very distinctive identity. With its lush farmland, magical trulli, sparkling whitewashed towns and searing climate, Puglia somehow feels nearer to the wilds of nearby Greece than the nobility of distant Rome. This region's mile upon mile of arid farmland reflects its humble agricultural past, and today it's famous for its produce, which includes exceptionally good wine. But deep in the heart of rural Puglia, you'll find a vineyard with a difference, where the wine is a reminder of the South's most sinister side. It's no secret that Italy has a serious problem with the mafia. And this corner of the country has felt the force of it more than most. Here there is a constant invisible threat of organized crime, but there are grassroots organizations now fighting it.
La mafia comanda con la paura delle persone, perché è chiaro che se io tolgo il posto di lavoro, la persona ha paura, per cui subisce quelle che sono i soprusi di un mafioso. Siamo stufi di sentirci dire che l'Italia è la mafia.
Francesco Gigante is part of an anti-mafia cooperative named Libera Terra Puglia. Both inspiring and courageous, its aim is to bring good from land that has been confiscated from the mafia.
Spiegami a chi apparteneva questo terreno, questa casa?
Questo terreno apparteneva ad Antonio Screti, cassiere della Sacra Corona Unita. Sacra Corona Unita è la mafia, è la quarta mafia, la mafia pugliese. Ha saputo prendere, se mi consentite, il meglio e il peggio di tutte le mafie già esistenti.
The cooperative organically farms the land here, and they've built up a reputation for award-winning wines, even though there is a terrifying tension over what the mafia might do next.
The biggest problem when they started was that no one would work for them because they were scared.
Alle spalle di questo muro ci sono i vigneti, gli stessi terreni che ci vengono bruciati. Nel 2008 i vigneti, nel 2012 il grano, la settimana scorsa il grano. Però andiamo sempre avanti, vogliamo ridare dignità a questi terreni, perché la dignità qualcuno gliel'ha tolta.
It's a pretty frightening reality to live with, but in a show of support for the anti-mafia movement, people now queue up to work here among the vineyards, like head agronomist Fabio does.
Quanto vino fate con questi ettari? Quante bottiglie?
Riusciamo a produrre intorno ai 60 ettolitri di vino.
4.000 bottiglie. Cerchiamo anche di essere un'azienda importante nella qualità del prodotto che facciamo.
Questo?
Certo, noi vogliamo che il nostro prodotto venga apprezzato per la qualità, non per il lato sociale.
Sì.
Nevertheless, standing here at the entrance to the chapel, where reputedly the mafia used to initiate new members, it's difficult not to be cowed by the sobering history behind these wines.
So che c'è una storia dietro ogni bottiglia e questo si chiama Alberelli della Santa.
È dedicato, come gli altri vini, a delle vittime di mafia. Questo vino è dedicato al sorriso ed alla freschezza dei giovani Michele Fazio e Gaetano Marchitelli, ragazzi baresi uccisi innocenti per mano mafiosa.
Allora, questa si chiama Renata Fonte.
Vai, Renata Fonte, nome e cognome, Renata è il nome, Fonte e cognome,
sì.
Assessore repubblicano al comune di Nardò.
Sì.
È stata uccisa perché ribellatasi all'abusivismo edilizio in un'oasi protetta, che è veramente il posto più bello della Puglia, uno dei posti più belli della Puglia, ed è ancora rimasto intatto grazie al suo sacrificio. Uccisa, si dice, per mano mafiosa da persone che molto vicine a lei sui banchi comunali del comune di Nardò.
The names they call these wines honor the memories of victims of the mafia, but they do not bang on about it. Of course, they think it's important to present a front against the mafia, but first of all, they want people to buy their products because they're stupendous.
While the war against the ever-present mafia is still being fought, I think this is a beautiful way to pay tribute to its victims, and a hint that there's much more than meets the eye to the surprising South. There are parts parts of the region of Puglia that have a distinctly foreign feel. And to understand why, you need to look to its past. The geography of the region made it ripe for invasion, and for centuries every major power of the period colonized Puglia. Each country left a lasting legacy on the landscape, from the Turkish to the Greek. But it's the Baroque beauty of the city of Lecce that makes it one of the most celebrated sights of the south. For me, Lecce is the jewel in Puglia's crown.
This is called the Florence of the South. Every single building in the historic centre is made out of the same local stone. You know, the architecture changes so dramatically between the north and the south. The cities are more decaying, and there's a greater attrition of time in a way, but they are romantic with a capital R. These wonderful Baroque facades that you won't find anywhere else in the world.
A city of golden honey hues, Lecce is becoming an increasingly popular part of Italy's tourist trail, as visitors experience its relaxed rhythm and laid-back cafe culture. But for all its grandeur, it's not the only example of pure architectural beauty that can be found in this region. Even the smallest towns can be visually striking, my favourite being the little-known hillside town of Locorotondo. Its labyrinth of lanes have afforded it listed status as one of the most beautiful villages in Italy, and deservedly so.
It is perfect. It's like this little jewel. The impression is of very clean beauty. It's the kind of place you dream of living.
To come across an unexpected gem like this, which feels more connected to its southern Mediterranean neighbours than to Italy, is all part of the appeal of Puglia.
It's like a lot of little towns in Greece, whitewashed to reflect the sun, to keep the heat away. White was also historically used to repel the plague. Don't know how effective it was, but it's certainly pretty.
Perched 400 metres up, the stunning vista out across the arid landscape is a reminder of how precious water is here, and a reason for the distinctive pitched roofs of the town.
These roofs are called colmezze, and they're very particular to this part of the world. There's very little rain here, and so every single bit of rainwater has to be harvested so that it can be reused. And this design makes sure that it is.
An hour or two wandering these peaceful streets allows you to immerse yourself in its culture, one that even now nods to its peasant past. Here, the butcher has always been at the heart of village life, and it's no different today. Inside, you can indulge in the tradition of fornello pronto, a concept that was born out of peasant life.
Oh God, my belly. My poor fat belly.
For the butcher, there was money to be made from their otherwise less appealing leftovers each day.
Bombette di suino, so that is pork. Okay, so it's a bit of the neck that has had the bone taken out of it. It is rolled with cheese in the middle.
They would grill the meat for the locals in a wood-fired oven and serve it to them straight away in the shop. The village folk would save on charcoal and wood, with the added bonus of enjoying an evening out with the neighbours.
Vabbè, mo sta riprendendo.
Finger licking good. I mean, I can't say I believe it's very dietetic, but my goodness, it's good.
Age-old traditions like these were what brought people together in Puglia's towns and villages. But some are more curious than others. Spending time in Puglia, you may discover that the region has its own unique soundtrack. It's not unusual to happen upon a crowd of people dancing maniacally to the frenzied rhythm of tambourines and violins. This is a folk dance known as a pizzica. Fast, frenetic and hypnotic, the pizzica derives from a centuries-old concoction of faith healing and peasant culture. This devilish dance was thought to have been the only way to banish the poison of a tarantula bite. It's almost like an exorcism, a musical catharsis. It can go on for hours. The pizzica music is merely a hint of the rich history and folklore of the region. Head the iconic Trulli district around Locorotondo, and it's likely you'll be met by the atmospheric sights and sounds of its people. Women like Graziella are the real spirit of Puglia.
Io quasi non capisco una parola.
E sono tutti in dialetti.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
Posso entrare?
E come no?
Grazie.
Accomodatevi.
Graziella lives in a trullo, a curious beehive-shaped house that you only find here. These fairy tale-looking structures have peppered this landscape for the last 5,000 years. Today, most have been converted into shishi B&Bs and holiday homes. But Graziella has lived in her trullo for most of her life.
È venuta a vivere qui da quando è sposata o poco dopo?
No, mi sono sposato, sono venuto qui, ho vissuto con i miei suoceri più di 30 anni.
Gosh, 30 years of living with her in-laws.
Sono morti all'età...
Se quello non ti insegna pazienza?
No, la pazienza già ce l'avevo, se no non mi avessi neanche sposato, non avessi accettato di stare con i suoceri.
Sì. E poi la cucina la sapevi già fare bene, la sua mamma le ha insegnato.
A quei tempi, se uno non sapeva fare la cucina, non ti sposava neanche, non ti volevano gli uomini.
Gosh, well, it's lucky times are different.
In a land where cuisine is king, Puglia's cucina povera, peasant cooking, is legendary. Fava beans have fed the poor here for hundreds of years.
500 kilos of these, her and her husband, and she's 80, by the way, took a week to harvest. So as evening entertainment, when it's raining or when they're sitting by the fire, they sit there and they take off the hard skin. Ma prima si sbucciano e poi...
No, prima si...
e poi si bolliscono.
Poi si bolliscono, sì. Poi si mettono al sole e si fanno asciugare bene. E poi vengono insomma...
Deve ricordarsi, signora, che io sono una ragazza di città, non capisco tutta questa roba, deve spiegarmi come se fossi idiota.
Sì, ma io in dialetto sì, però in italiano è difficile.
Io non parlo dialetto, scusami.
Siamo due lingue diverse.
Poi questi.
Sì.
Poi da questi si tolgono subito la buccia. Si bolliscono la prima volta.
Solo una volta si bolliscono. Qui.
Ok, allora aspetta che spiego per quei altri poveri innocenti come me che non capisce il lavoro. These have got to be placed into boiling water for 5 minutes, the time to say a Catholic credo. And then they are spread out in the sun on the fields to become completely dry, to then have this work done to them, at which point they will be ready to be cooked. So next time you have a bean salad, think of that.
Se al mio ritorno ti trova maritata, mi spunterò la spada e la testa ti taglierò.
Carina questa.
A staple dish here is the classic fava bean puree.
She is mashing up the fava beans with a bit of potato, boiled potato as well, and some olive oil, and that is it. She's just got the technique. Look at that. The more you beat them, the smoother and the whiter the paste becomes. In the old days, she used to make this every single day, so she must have done it
Fate fretta che io mi stanco.
1,000 times in her life. She's getting tired, she says. It's not like it used to be.
Questo è un piatto dei poveri.
This is a poor people's dish, she says. This is a dish that you can always eat.
This part of my adventure has been unexpected, but the further I head into this remote part of Italy, the more rugged, rustic and surreal it becomes. A world away from the sun-bleached fairy tale landscape of Puglia, the heart of southern Italy is eaten up by the majestic expanse of the country's largest national park, Monte Pollino. Here, the sublime scenery is a complete surprise to me. The vast landscape stretches across the regions of Calabria and Basilicata. Its imposing peaks, wooded glens and rushing streams retain an ancient rugged charm still yet to be tainted by mass tourism. It is an undiscovered treasure for many Italians too. The park is peppered with several sleepy villages and small towns, many of them with an intriguing history. This one, the peaceful town of Civita, hints at why this part of the country has a distinctly foreign feel. Pepe is a guide to the local area.
Buongiorno.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Benvenuta nel Parco Nazionale del Pollino.
Grazie.
Questo è un paese particolare, è
Sì.
un paese non italiano, è italo-albanese.
Sì.
The Albanians crossed the Adriatic Sea 500 years ago, fleeing the Ottoman Empire. They settled in villages throughout Pollino, bringing their culture with them. A quiet stroll around Civita makes for a great start to the day, but its positioning within the park also makes it a gateway to the wilderness beyond.
Quanto estende molto il parco? Scusami con gli
Il
occhiali.
parco sono 200.000 ettari e
200,000
tra
hectares.
Basilicata e Calabria, sì.
The epic vistas of Monte Pollino are an adventurer's playground.
Apparently there's extreme mountain biking here. There's canyoning, there's rafting, and there's free climbing. Or, for the more sedentary amongst us, there is merely marvelling at the view.
But if that wasn't appealing enough, you can also discover an abundance of wildlife here, from golden eagles to a few shy wolves and a band of feral mountain goats.
Allora, praticamente qui intorno hanno sempre allevato la capra,
Sì.
è un animale abbastanza comune. I pastori portano a pascolare questi animali, poteva capitare ogni tanto che qualche animale si perdeva. Quando scappa su questi posti qua non è facile recuperare una capra. Credo che siano ormai circa 50 esemplari che girano, camminano ovunque, anche lì sopra. Dove...
Ah, c'è una lì, vedo.
Ce n'è una
nera e una bianca.
Poi ce n'è una bianca,
Mm.
ma sono due bianche, con una piccola, una capretta.
Ma che cavolo fanno lì?
Perché lì non ci sono predatori, non ci va il lupo, non ci arriva l'uomo.
I've got no idea how they get up there, or more importantly, how you'd get down. It's a pretty inhospitable place to live.
But for some, the remoteness of the park make it an idyllic place to call home. And for carpenter Quirino, the abundance of wood all around offers a perfect, if unexpected, way to make a living.
Salve, sono Alex Polizzi.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Quirino.
Lei vive qui da quando, su Monte Pollino, dico?
Sono nato qui 50 anni fa, vivo in questo paese, vivo in questo posto perché sono molto legato alla montagna, alla natura che mi circonda.
From the peace of his workshop in the wilderness, using locally sourced wood, Quirino, a musician himself, handcrafts what looks like a complicated cousin of the Scottish bagpipes.
Questo è un strumento tradizionale.
Questo si chiama zampogna a chiave.
Zampogna a chiave.
Ci sono strumenti tradizionali come la forma di questa zampogna esiste dal centro Italia fino alla Sicilia.
Come hai imparato a fare questo strumento?
È stato facile per me costruire questo strumento perché l'ho preso da un vecchio costruttore, un bravissimo costruttore, e ho copiato i suoi strumenti, precisamente nelle misure, nelle decorazioni, e fin quando è risultato finito lo strumento. Cioè praticamente ho adattato tutta la mia attrezzatura riguardo il tornio a costruire questi strumenti.
Sì. Mi fai sentire come suona?
I really wasn't expecting to find this here. And such an enchanting sound.
E cos'è che ti piace di questo suono? Cos'è che ti piace per suonare questo strumento?
Ma già dal ritmo che ho fatto significa che è una suonata per una danza.
Yes, it's party music. You can tell from the kind of beat that it's music people to dance to, particularly couples. And I must say, I was tapping away with my foot.
To me, Italy is like a rich tapestry, each region another colourful patch on the quilt. Basilicata is no exception. It's one of the least populated, least visited and least understood regions in the country. One of the smallest too. But hidden in this remote, arid landscape is one of the most intriguing places I've ever been to. The ancient city of Matera is both haunting and beautiful. I came here on my honeymoon, and I've longed to uncover more of its enchanting secrets ever since.
I love Matera. It's one of the first continuously inhabited sites in Europe, and so it's got this immense resonance and history which I find most appealing. It's a very timeless landscape, and it's unusual that you have so little modern that intrudes into your consciousness. I mean, this is one of the glories of Italy, and if you haven't seen it, you really should come.
Walking through its atmospheric streets, it's easy to feel like you've stepped back in time. It's almost biblical. Today, it's hard to imagine that not so long ago, Matera was known as the shame of Italy. In the 1950s, families were crammed into its cave houses, living along livestock with no running water or sanitation in abject poverty. The squalor and malaria-ridden conditions became a national scandal. The entire population of 20,000 people were forcefully relocated to new housing projects, leaving it an empty shell, a ghost town.
Ciao.
Francesco has some astonishing memories of Matera.
Francesco, what's your connection to this place?
It's a very strong connection. All my family was born here. I was born here as well. And ancestors going back to time, century after century, all my family was from here. And so I have a very strong relation to Matera. This area was completely abandoned where I was born, up to when I was 20 years old. And so I used to come here because everything was deserted. It was a big ghost town. And for a kid, for a teenager, it was like a big playground. So I was feeling like a little Indiana Jones with all friends of mine, as everything was for us to know and to explore and to discover. There was nobody around, just us.
This is the part of the historic city. This is the newer bit, though, isn't it?
This is the newest part of the old town, yes.
So risale a, when does it, I mean, when was it?
It dates back to the 1400.
1400.
So 600 years ago, roughly.
Gosh, and so that's the new bit. And the old bit?
They are the caves, and they are thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And all the caves that are hidden beyond the buildings, they date back 10,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. So in every house, people sleep in the same place of their ancestor of 10,000 years ago, which is quite amazing.
Until recently, the caves remained damp, derelict and abandoned. But now Matera has emerged from the dark shadows of its recent past. In the 90s, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site, and since then there has been a complete renaissance in the fortunes of this national treasure.
This was my grandparents' home, where my mother was born as well. Now it's a hotel room.
Gosh, would this have been for one family?
Yes, that's correct. And there were just three people, my grandparents and my mother.
Was it in a terrible state when you got your hands on it again?
Yes, it was in a very terrible state. I still have the pictures. Everything was black on the ceiling. There was rubbish around the place. It's like, you felt like you're in Pompeii.
That's that alcove.
Yes.
And this is the ceiling.
Is the ceiling with, now it's painted. There was a big fire here. That's why everything is black in the picture. There was a big fire during the abandoned time. This was taken in 1952.
Oh my gosh.
And you can see all the clothes hanging, people and old women chatting, the little cart.
The wheelbarrows.
Yes, and this is just 20 years later.
Darling,
everything is abandoned.
Unbelievable.
Yes, it was like this till the 90s.
It's astonishing.
It's a wonderful comparison. Now, one of these ladies was my grandmother. And they had to leave.
How did your grandparents feel when they had to move out?
Well, most people of their generation, they were quite happy to move because we were the shame of Italy, the disgrace of Italy. So they were happy to move to new neighborhoods. They were modern, and so they just abandoned them. It was my generation to understand the value that we were losing, as this was not just the disgrace of Italy. It was an incredible heritage that we were losing. And it's not a coincidence that in their generation, Matera was the shame and the disgrace of Italy. In my generation, it's a world heritage. And everything has changed, and now we do understand that what Italy thought it was a shame was just a picture of a very long film.
Yes.
That which is going on, and has been going on for 10,000 years and will last for 10,000 years more.
Matera may be Europe's most dramatic story of rebirth. Tourists are now flooding back to the city, but this is not a landscape that's been blemished by modern life. Luxury hotels are concealed within its honeycomb of caves. I'm told that nothing can quite prepare you for a visit to Le Grotto della Civita. a luxury hotel with a difference.
So tell me a bit how long this hotel has been here and the idea behind it.
The idea is to preserve the history, the cultural tradition of the places and the people from this place. This case were abandoned in the 50s, and now it's possible to come back and live this atmosphere, this ancient feeling of the past.
It took 10 years to restore these ancient caves into 18 boutique bedrooms.
Wow, this is lovely. Very beautiful. Look at that view as well. It's amazing. I mean, it's very rarely that I'm blown away by somewhere, but this is completely blown me away. It's romantic and it's done with just such immaculate taste. The lighting, the furniture, the linen and the candles everywhere and it's just really very nice. So shall we?
In this case were just houses yes. For peasants and for poor people. They used to live with animals, with donkeys, and now it's completely different.
Of course.
We tried to restore these caves in the most authentic way possible.
It's lovely to see something that has been restored so lovingly and so carefully, and that is kind of quite true still to certain elements of how things used to be. Gosh.
I've always felt that you should be able to wake up in a hotel and know exactly where you are in the world. But this is something else.
It makes me very dissatisfied with my current living arrangements. It really is amazing. I can't think of a hotel that's captured my imagination more, actually.
But Matera is a city of two extremes, as I'm about to discover. Until 25 years ago, the southern Italian city of Matera was the desolate, deserted and dirty secret of Italy.
It was called Italy's shame, Matera. And it's lovely to see it blossom into a pride of Italy.
Today, its subterranean slums have become a luxury destination unlike any other in the country. And Matera is now feted around the world. But what's less celebrated outside of the city is the annual festival, the centuries-old feast of the Madonna della Bruna. In a workshop in the heart of the city, the finishing touches are being applied to a lovingly handmade float. It forms the centerpiece of the festa. The float is a real work of art, built out of papier-mâché and decorated with ornaments and statues of saints. It takes 4 months to design, build and decorate at a cost of about 25,000 euros. But for all its glory, this masterpiece always meets an ugly end. In the days leading up to the festa, no one in the city sleeps.
Italians love a festa, and this is one of the more impressive ones that I've ever heard about. I've never seen it before. It's all tied up with a historic religious significance, but it's become more than that. It's become a sign of pride, not just in your region, but in your specific town or city. I believe there are going to be 60,000 people here tonight. I asked specifically to be removed from the crowd because, quite honestly, I've never seen more armed police than a rather violent football match. I mean, they're 3 deep, the police down there. I don't know what they think is going to happen, but they're obviously prepared for the worst.
It may be little known outside of Matera, but this festa is a very big deal to the people here.
Do you think it would be wrong to do a selfie? Look, now quite a lick is coming. It all looks terribly unsafe.
The float makes a ritual journey through central Matera, teasing and dividing the crowds as it passes the twinkling decorations, before returning to the square to meet its ultimate fate.
The tension is definitely building. What can I say? They are putting their helmets on. I think that is a sign that they expect something to happen quite soon. Oh my God! All the guys are trying to get already preparing to get over the barricade. Oh my God, it's so exciting. Here they come! Here they come!
The baying crowds have set upon the chariot like wild animals. It's a rite of destruction, a frenzy of religious devotion.
Look, they're gathering trophies. They're gathering trophies.
Taking home any piece of the float is thought to bring good luck, and the competition is ferocious.
Look at the guy holding an angel. A full set height angel. Oh my God! Oh my God! Look at him with Jesus!
In less than 70 seconds, the wreckage is complete. The float is nothing more than a carcass, a skeleton of its former self.
4 months of this artist's work of creating this float gone in seconds.
This festival is a fitting finale to my Italian travels. I consider myself incredibly fortunate to have had the opportunity to step outside of my everyday life and experience the length and breadth of a country that means so much to me. I've burrowed into its great cities, immersed myself in its rich culture, and revisited the people and places that are so dear to me.
Alex. Hi, darling.
And what's become more and more apparent to me is there's something wonderful, something unusual, something unexpected around every corner. There's so much to Italy. There's this huge interior that very few tourists, relatively speaking, still discover, which is a shame because there's so many jewels here. Culinary, architectural, historical. You could keep coming back here for 20 years and always find something new. But more than anything, this trip has allowed me to learn about myself. When I was younger, I always used to think that as an Italian, I felt rather too loud and too emotional for England. And when I came to Italy, I was considered very British. Now I feel as if I've got the best of both worlds. How lucky I am to have such a rich dual heritage.
It's kind of strengthened my ties to Italy again. it's reminded me of why I feel Italian and what I love about it so much here. It's very hard not to love Italy. I always have, but it's nice to be reminded of why.